Jon Moxley suffers an injury believed to be a concussion during his AEW International Championship loss last night on AEW Dynamite. Details on how that wasn't originally the planned finish and Moxley was not supposed to lose the title last night in Queens, New York. Details on that plus MJF, he has retained his AEW World Championship, but Adam Cole may have also been injured during the main event. Eddie Kingston is the brand new Ring of Honor World Champion. Sammy Guevara turns on Chris Jericho. Saraya retains the Women's World Championship. Sheamus, his contract is up in 2024. We have the ratings for this week's edition of NXT. Details on Vince McMahon's appearance and overall demeanor during the recent WWE all-employee meeting. WWE reportedly ends their deal with Panini for breach of contract. Elimination Chamber is heading to Australia next year, plus an update on a December pay-per-view for AEW later on this year. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's start off talking about Jon Moxley, a very scary situation last night on AEW Dynamite. Of course, it was the Grand Slam edition of Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium, and we did see a title change. However, it was not supposed to happen. Now, Rey Fénix is your new AEW International Champion on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam special. Fénix dethroned Jon Moxley as the title holder following a hard-hitting back-and-forth contest. The match ultimately came to a close when Fénix hit the Blackpool Combat Club member with a pair of pile drivers. The second pile driver was necessitated by the fact that the referee didn't count the 3 count after the first one, despite Moxley failing to kick out. Details on that in just a second. This resulted in the spot having to be redone. Reports indicate that Moxley is believed to have suffered a concussion during the match, although it's kind of disputed where and when, but we'll get to that in just a little while. While this may be the first time Fénix has held singles gold in AEW, he is a former AEW World Tag Team Champion and a Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion as one half of the Lucha Brothers, alongside his brother Penta El Zero Miedo. The two have also held AEW World Trios titles alongside Pac in Death Triangle. Now, although Moxley only held the title for 17 days, he defended it on a handful of occasions against the likes of AR Fox, Action Andretti, and Big Bill. He had previously won the belt from Orange Cassidy at AEW All Out on September 3rd in Chicago, Illinois. But as I mentioned, there was scary moments in this one because Moxley is believed to have suffered a concussion in the match. According to PW Insider, the reason behind this awkward finish was Moxley reportedly suffering a concussion. After being checked over by doctors for some time, Moxley walked out of the arena under his own power by himself. It's also believed that Fénix winning the title was not the original plan and only happened because of Moxley's injury. On social media, both Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp and the Wrestling Observer's Brian Alvarez provided updates on the situation. Sapp noted that those that he spoke with were, quote, optimistic that Moxley was fine, and that right after the incident, AEW CEO Tony Khan and other members of the Blackpool Combat Club went to check on him. Alvarez acknowledged that Moxley was hurt during the match, but said, quote, he is okay. Now, as I mentioned, for more details about when Moxley suffered this concussion, some people are suggesting that maybe he suffered it right at the end of the match when that first pile driver happened. However, if you go back and watch the match, it does appear actually before the bell even rang, Moxley may have suffered a concussion or a stinger during a dive by Rey Fénix. Now, Pro Wrestling Torch is reporting that Moxley has been diagnosed with a concussion that actually occurred during the pre-match brawl rather than during the match itself. Moxley had been planned to retain the championship, but during the match the finish was changed to Fénix winning due to Moxley's condition. It seems that decision may have come from Moxley himself, as the referee wasn't aware of it, and that's why he didn't count to 3 the first time Moxley was pinned and didn't raise his shoulder, which caused for a very awkward moment before Fénix had to hit his finisher for a second time, and that's when the referee figured it out and did count to 3. Now, the report notes that Moxley isn't expected to miss much ring time, and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer also referred to it as a, quote, minor concussion. Given that Fénix wasn't planned to win the AEW International Championship, plans going forward will obviously have to be altered, and it'll be interesting to see how the reign plays out. But as I mentioned, it does look like, actually, if you go and watch the match back, in an earlier spot where Fénix dives over the cameraman onto Moxley, he lands on his head, and then for a good 30 seconds after that, Moxley clearly does not know where he is. He's stumbling around, he has the glassy-eyed look, he's staring off into the distance, and he has to kind of recover. So what were your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the finish? What are your thoughts on Moxley's injury? Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comments section below. Now, of course, the show was headlined last night by that AEW World Championship match between MJF and Samoa Joe, and the reign of the devil continues. MJF successfully defended his AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe during AEW Dynamite Grand Slam on Wednesday, in a match that had several memorable high spots, including MJF being caught with a pile driver on exposed concrete and sent crashing through a table. Perhaps the most notable one came at the end, however, when MJF used a piece of tape to help him put Samoa Joe to sleep, then concealed the evidence from the referee afterward with some help from his brochacho Adam Cole. Cole might have been hurt, we'll get to that in just a second, but Joe and MJF shook hands after the match. Joe, of course, ensured his spot in the Grand Slam main event after defeating Roderick Strong in the finals of the World Championship Eliminator Tournament last Wednesday. He had previously defeated Jeff Hardy and Penta El Zero Miedo prior in the quarterfinals and semifinals respectively. MJF has held the World Championship for 306 days and counting, dethroning Jon Moxley at AEW Full Gear last year to become the new title holder. He is also one half of the reigning Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions alongside Adam Cole, with the pair winning those titles at the All-In 0 Hour pre-show back in August. Now, as I mentioned Adam Cole, though, he may have been another person who suffered an injury last night, because on this week's AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, Adam Cole suffered an injury while making his way to the ring and was taken to hospital after the show. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Cole was in pain backstage following the main event match for the AEW World Championship between MJF and Samoa Joe. Cole reportedly had to use crutches when he left the hospital. The Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion suffered the innocuous injury when he jumped from the ramp to ringside after arriving to help, encouraging his tag team partner MJF, who was put in a sleeper hold by Samoa Joe. Cole landed awkwardly when he made the jump and was seen limping immediately before he went to ringside. So, of course, it's a really just unfortunate and really accident injury. Cole, of course, was out for several months last year due to serious concussions that he suffered in the ring, but he made his return to the company at the start of the year and started this storyline with MJF back in June. It remains to be seen if the injury he suffered on Wednesday night is a serious one, and we'll keep him out on the sidelines for a long period of time. If we get any more updates on diagnoses, how serious the injury is, if plans are going to change, anything like that, of course, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, Eddie Kingston is the brand new Ring of Honor World Champion. Eddie Kingston, of course, he is the King of New York. Eddie Kingston, clad in the colors of his wrestling hero Toshiaki Kawada, stood victorious in his hometown of New York City on Wednesday in the opening contest of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in Arthur Ashe Stadium. Kingston defeated Claudio Castagnoli, defending his New Japan Strong Openweight Championship, and winning Castagnoli's Ring of Honor World Championship in a champion versus champion match. Avenging his loss at Supercard of Honor earlier this year, Kingston's Kawada tribute attire was seen and raised by Castagnoli, who wrestled in the green and white of All Japan Pro Wrestling franchise face and longtime Kawada rival Misawa, a small flourish comparing Kawada and Kingston's underdog reputations. Kingston won the match with a powerbomb, one of Kawada's signature moves. Kingston and Castagnoli have been bitter rivals going all the way back to their time on the independent scene, with the rivalry reignited by Castagnoli's friendship with Kingston's former best friend Jon Moxley. Moxley and Castagnoli have united in the Blackpool Combat Club, which has led to them both teaming and fighting with Kingston. Kingston has been the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion since July 5th, when he defeated Kenta at Korakuen Hall for the title. So congratulations go to Eddie Kingston. Now, last night we saw a scene reminiscent of WrestleMania 19 in a variety of ways. Not only Sammy Guevara actually wearing gear that actually reminisce Chris Jericho's attire at WrestleMania 19 when he faced off against Shawn Michaels, but the post-match angle was pretty much like for like what happened in Seattle all those years ago. After a back and forth affair between former Inner Circle and Jericho Appreciation Society members, the namesake of the latter prevailed when Chris Jericho countered a shooting star press from Sammy Guevara into a code breaker to earn the victory on Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. The main story of this encounter, however, began and ended only after the closing bell, as the protege turned on his mentor to extend the feud and further a few other storylines to boot. Guevara, wearing gear that was a nod to Jericho's attire at WrestleMania 19, shook the hand of his former mentor and gave him a hug just before delivering a low blow to Le Champion, a note-for-note remake of Jericho turning on Shawn Michaels all those years ago. Jericho's facial expression mimicked that of Michaels' utter shock as well, but his disappointment had only just begun. Immediately afterwards, Don Callis came down the ramp and escorted Guevara to the back, indicating a likely alliance between Guevara and the Don Callis family. In a backstage segment later on in the show, Renee Paquette tried to get Guevara to confirm the affiliation, but Callis cut her off, giving her a non-answer, only saying all will be revealed this Friday on Rampage. Now, as the two walked off, with Paquette looking on curiously in the background, Guevara crossed paths with another former stablemate in Daniel Garcia, with the two nearly coming to blows, perhaps teasing a future encounter between the two, or maybe another recruitment to the family. Callis pulled Guevara away, saying of Garcia, "This kid's money." So what were your thoughts on the angle, and where do you think this is going, Daniel Garcia and Chris Jericho, moving forward? Saraya is still the AEW Women's World Champion, retaining her title last night against the Hollywood starlet that is Toni Storm. Toni Storm's close-up is, I guess, postponed until further notice. On last night's Dynamite Grand Slam, Saraya retained her AEW Women's World title against Toni Storm in an emotional battle between former friends. Storm made use of a high heel behind the referee's back, planted a kiss on Saraya's lips, and hit Storm Zero, all to no avail, as she was eventually sent tailbone first into an exposed turnbuckle to lose to the Outcast leader. Saraya was conflicted throughout the match, initially opting to not smash Storm's head into the exposed turnbuckle, showing sympathy for the woman that she exiled. Of course, Saraya has been champion since AEW All In on August 27. Dethroning Hikaru Shida in a four-way match at the historic event that also included Storm and Dr. Britt Baker. Storm, of course, earned a shot at Saraya's title last week, winning a four-way match on her own on Dynamite to punch her ticket to Arthur Ashe Stadium, but unfortunately, it was to no avail. Now, a bit of an update when it comes to WWE superstar Sheamus, because we're heading into contract season, really, and Sheamus is one of several names whose contract is up next year. Fightful Select are reporting that they have learned that longtime WWE superstar Sheamus currently has a contract set to expire with WWE in 2024. This is the case with numerous stars, including Becky Lynch and Drew McIntyre. Fightful are told by WWE sources that it's believed his deal is up in the first quarter or first half of next year, though that period isn't confirmed. Pro wrestling deals have a lot of caveats that could extend that, injuries, etc. WWE, of course, signed a ton of wrestlers to new 5-year deals back in 2019, but even then there were several that were negotiated after that period, and they're also up at the end of 2024 as well. Some were renegotiated, so several big contracts are coming up next year. It's going to be a fascinating year when it comes to contracts. Of course, Sheamus is a decorated star within WWE, winning 4 world titles of Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, and King of the Ring, in addition to wrestling in a title match at WrestleMania. He'll be 46 when he reaches potential free agency. As I mentioned, there's going to be a lot more contracts that are coming up over the next year. Of course, if we get any more information on people whose deals are coming up, not only within WWE, but also AEW as well, we'll let you know. But where do you think Sheamus will go? Considering he's been in WWE so long, do you expect him to stay? Or could we see Sheamus do the unthinkable and go elsewhere? Let me know your thoughts about that. We have the ratings for this week's edition of NXT as well. Last week, Becky Lynch winning the NXT Women's Championship scored big for the black and gold brand, and this year, it's been a long year, every week feels like a year. This week, Becky Lynch did just the same. The man Becky Lynch continues to draw eyes to NXT, but people like Carmelo Hayes and Dominic Mysterio that appear to be keeping folks around. WrestleNomics is reporting that NXT held strong to the prior week's audience of over 800,000 viewers on Tuesday, once again bringing NXT viewership numbers that haven't been seen since 2021. The show was viewed by 824,000 viewers, which is down 3% from last week's 850,000 viewers. 316,000 viewers in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic tuned in, which is also a 6% drop from last week too. Unlike last week, the show does not appear to have broken 1 million viewers at any point in the show, peaking at 912,000. Despite Lynch bookending the highly viewed episode, that 912,000 viewer peak actually came during the champion versus champion contest between NXT champion Carmelo Hayes and NXT North American champion Dominic Mysterio, which ended in a no contest when Ilya Dragunov got involved in the match. The lowest rated segment of the program was the triple threat match that determined the B block finalists in the Global Heritage Invitational, where Joe Coffey defeated Duke Hudson and Nathan Fraser to advance to the finals of the tournament against Butch. NXT has not maintained viewership like this since the early days of its television contract, when the show was still on Wednesday nights and competing head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. Since it was moved to Tuesday nights, the program has only spiked the occasional high rating, with the usual ratings coming in at least 100,000 viewers lower than the current era of NXT Women's Champion Becky Lynch, who won the title last week and gave one of the highest rated episodes of NXT in years. So certainly, Becky Lynch and this main roster crossover is still working, despite the viewership and rating being down just a little bit. Still, it's doing big numbers for WWE right now. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Vince McMahon now that he's back in the fold, with TKO actually existing, the merger between WWE and UFC under the Endeavor umbrella being completed. And of course, there were mass layoffs last week, and there was a big employee meeting since the mass layoffs last week, and Vince McMahon was there, and additional details behind the scenes information has come to light regarding the WWE all-staff meeting from this week, including Vince McMahon's physical health following his recent surgery. PW Insider has stated that Tuesday's meeting was led not only by McMahon, but also TKO Group Holdings CEO Ari Emanuel, WWE President Nick Khan, and Paul Triple H Levesque too. Several WWE employees revealed to PW Insider that McMahon was using a cane to walk up the stairs and get to the podium. The news isn't surprising, since back on July 21st, the 78-year-old underwent major spinal surgery. The sources also said that McMahon was very, quote, in his moment. On one occasion, he received no applause after declaring, "I'm Vince McMahon, damn it." He proceeded to remind the audience, "This is when you're supposed to clap." Upon finally receiving applause from the group of employees, he allegedly commented that they were learning. McMahon was also said to be the only executive who didn't mingle with the employees after the staff meeting. The meeting took place at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, and was recorded with a full crew. The old WWE Raw set was also used for executives to come out of. The staff meeting happened after Endeavor laid off more than 100 employees for cost-saving reasons after the WWE and UFC merger was finalized on September 12. Those that were laid off were not WWE superstars, though one standout name was Dana Warrior, who worked in WWE's outreach department and had previously worked in creative for 2 years. So a bit of an update on Vince McMahon's appearance at that meeting as well. This is quite a fascinating story, actually. WWE and Panini now have lawsuits allegedly against each other. WWE's deal with collectibles company Panini ended 2 weeks ago, according to Action Network sports business reporter Darren Rovell. Rovell shared the news on Twitter, saying that WWE terminated the deal, which had more than 2 years left because of a breach of contract. WWE's deal with Fanatics, which was supposed to start in 2026, is now expected to start imminently, and WWE is seeking an injunction due to Panini still selling WWE products. The report comes almost a month after Rovell reported on a similar situation between Panini and the NFL Players Association, which similarly saw the NFLPA ditch Panini in favor of an early start to an upcoming Fanatics deal, only for Panini to continue selling NFL trading cards. WWE announced their deal with Panini to sell WWE-themed trading cards in October of 2021, a pact worth at least $10 million beginning in early 2022. WWE had previously worked with Topps on and off since 1985. It's also worth mentioning that Panini also makes trading cards for UFC, which has officially merged with WWE to form TKO on September 12. It's unclear if that deal is going to be affected. Like WWE, Topps used to do the trading cards for UFC, holding the UFC license from 2009 to 2020. Panini would eventually take over in April 2021. In January 2022, Fanatics acquired Topps for around $500 million. So keep an eye on that one, because that one's going to certainly rumble on and on. Now, we were expecting a big announcement about an Australian premium live event next year, and we've got it today. Elimination Chamber is coming to Perth. This is a massive announcement by WWE. WWE has announced today that Elimination Chamber will emanate from Perth, Australia on February 24, 2024. Perth, Australia and Stamford, Connecticut's WWE, a TKO Group Holdings company, in partnership with the Western Australian government through Tourism Western Australia, today announced its long-awaited return to Australia for a globally televised premium live event. WWE Elimination Chamber Perth will take place at Optus Stadium in Perth, Western Australia on Saturday, February 24, 2024. This will mark WWE's first event in Australia since 2018 and the only PLE in the Asia Pacific region in 2024. Again, there's lots of different things that have been proposed about this and have been said about this in the press release. But what are your thoughts on Elimination Chamber coming to Australia next year? And is this just the beginning of more international PLEs like we've seen this year? Do you expect more to be announced next year as well? Finally, speaking of pay-per-view events, AEW may have another pay-per-view event coming later this year that isn't Full Gear. There are plans for AEW to add one more pay-per-view event to its calendar in 2023, according to a new report. The year 2023 will have is the fifth year that AEW has been in business, and it's the year that will have the most pay-per-view events in the calendar year. Earlier this month, AEW held All Out, just 1 week after the massive All In pay-per-view, which was AEW's first show in England in front of over 70,000 fans. Next up on the AEW pay-per-view calendar is the first ever Wrestle Dream event taking place on Sunday, October 1st in Seattle. 2 matches already announced for that show include Bryan Danielson facing Zack Sabre Jr. and Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland as well. There will also be the 5th annual Full Gear pay-per-view on Saturday, November 18 in Los Angeles too. It was reported last week that AEW had plans to run 12 pay-per-view events per year starting in 2024, so it's not a surprise to learn that there will be one more pay-per-view event in December as well. According to Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net, AEW is discussing a Friday, December 29th, 2023 date for an 8th and final AEW pay-per-view of this year. Now, while AEW doesn't usually do Friday pay-per-views because that would be against WWE SmackDown, it's possible that WWE has a best-of type show that night rather than a new episode of SmackDown. The company has yet to comment on it publicly or announce any specifics about a possible new pay-per-view event. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on another pay-per-view in December? Are you open for that? Do you like that? Or should AEW wait until next year? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.